So how's getting triggered going? Are you getting triggered very often, Scott?
No, no, not right now. The other day, like last week, I didn't turn my video on at the on the meeting, and I was listening, and as I was sitting there listening, I have you previously told me how your portal was just realizing it's just this right here, and you had me doing like laughing whenever I realized that I'm judging someone, and so I was watching the meeting, and I don't even remember who said it, who was talking, what they said, or anything, but it just kind of clicked with me, like uh, that phrase, like that everything, it's exactly as it should be. It couldn't be any other way. Like what's here right now, this reality bubble, it's perfect as it is, And I don't know, there was something about what we were talking. So it just started happening where when I what I always like felt was suffering uh, is this tension that starts to build up in me. Like it could be anything. It could be little something tiny, like little things happen, and this tension builds up inside me because I'm trying to. My conditioning is so like keyed into rules for living and how to like avoid negative occurrences and things like that. And so anyway, I guess it's that tension because anyway, as I started to like it, I started noticing the tension more. And each time I would notice the tension, I just stop and go, okay, what's here? It's exactly as it should be, and it couldn't be any different. And that just totally relaxes me, like just totally brings me down. The tension still comes back up again, like eventually, like sometimes right away, sometimes not. Well, not never right away, but sometimes it might be half a day before I start feeling the tension again, or other times it might be, a few minutes. And anyway, I'm using that as my wake up call. Like as soon as I feel that tension, I'm like, oh. And it's been working pretty good. My girlfriend says I'm walking around singing for last week, so I don't know.
Well, there you go. Yeah, very good. Somebody mentioned that phrase today, and it occurred to me that everything is perfect, and it occurred to me that adding something will make it even better, and that is everything is perfect, even in its brokenness. So we're not talking about perfect in terms of living up to some ideal, but we're talking about perfect in that it is as it is, and there's always a good side to it.
When I said, I think, what did I say? I said, it's perfect, but I don't know why I said that because my phrase is just like, this too is exactly as it should be, and it couldn't be any other way. And then so you were saying, uh, even in its brokenness. Okay.
If it is, like for example, the wars that are going on, or the Trump thing, or all of that stuff, it's kind of broken, but it's still perfect in that brokenness. Yeah. And I would go as far as to change everything is as it should be to everything is as it is.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you can see how should be kind of measures it against some fantasy, whereas the reality is it is as it is, as it is, as it is, as it is, and there's no getting away from that. It just is as it is.
There's something about the like as it should be that kind of keeps me from because like I noticed as I was doing it that I'm constantly looking for reasons that the present moment's not
Yeah.
sufficient. It's 68 years of training, and I just started seeing how my mind is always going out there trying to ruin my
Yeah,
experience, you know.
it's the trained nature of it. Yeah. I mean, feel free to keep using as it should be, but recognize that that's something that will change later because should be is just a made up idea.
So you know the phrase like "it is what it is" that like people use all the time. I think that memory of that phrase, because when they say "it is what it is," they're usually saying I'm just going to ignore it. You know what I mean? Like the standard population. That phrase. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not that way in Australia, but they say it around here a lot. Like it is what it is, and it's a way of going. I don't care what it is. That it's more or less. That's what the
Right.
phrase means, So I guess that's why I kind of shied away
Yeah,
from
yeah. Well,
that.
that's
But
fair enough too. I mean, what we find is that the different societies, and there is a difference between, say, Australia and America. Yeah, we get these phrases evolve, and they mean something other than what their literal meaning is. And so
yeah,
we've got to be careful with that because that stuff does get into us. So yeah, so when I say it is what it is, I'm meaning that literally. I'm not meaning be resigned to the fact, uh, which is the way that sounds like it gets used as a phrase where you are.
yeah. I knew what you were saying. It's the difference, It's standard population and you know people who are aware of
Mm,
whatever it is we're aware of. Anyway, yeah, doing
yeah.
great.
I mean, when we recognise that words don't really do justice to much anyway, um, we hold them less tightly, I suppose. But it is worth noting that they are powerful. Words are powerful. Yeah. So yeah. So when you say everything is as it should be, I get it that you're saying that it can't be any different.
Yeah, it doesn't need to change, and it
Yes.
can't be any other
Yeah.
way.
And
Basically, that's what I'm
that's
hearing.
legitimate. I like that. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Because whenever one of the things that my brain does is when I'm looking for reasons why the present moment's not good is it should be this way or it should be that way or this should have happened or I should have done that.
Yes.
That should word is like very strong, seems like for me.
Yes. Yeah.
It kind of like stops that, like, okay, I don't have to look
Yeah.
for what it should be because it's exactly as it should be.
Well, all those other should be's, uh, they're stories that are made up, but they're measured against some ideal, something. So some fantasy about how it should be, for example. Whereas
Right.
when you say it's as it should be, you are saying it is as it is. It can't be any different to what it is, it seems.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it means to me when I
yeah,
say it,
yeah.
yeah.
That's fine. So keep using it in that way. Yeah. Yeah.
My puppy's wheezing, wheezing. He's, I'll just turn off my sound.
Vince, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So you asked if we got triggered lately, and I did. I think I brought up this issue before, but I'm still struggling to see it more clearly. I get triggered when somebody is aggressive towards me or irrespectful. So it happened with both my kids, my grown-up kids, once with the girl and once with my son. And I just buy into these hooks. I read that when they speak to me like that, I really do feel awful. And while it happens, I ask myself, what is it that makes you believe that, in that very moment when it happens, I'm not able to see that it is just their bubble. I just buy into it every time. How can I say? What I feel in that moment, what happens inside, is like not being seen, not being recognized for the many things or the many ways that I am there for them. I think so. My belief is that I'm a very helpful person in general with people, but especially with my family. So the feelings that come up are about not being seen, and it hurts a lot.
Yes.
And I
Can you
really do.
can you put that in like reverse that? So change not being seen into something active.
To something active.
Yes. So instead of a negative like not being seen, what is happening? So it's not what's not happening that is the issue, it's what is happening that is the issue. And it's not about
Okay,
what
I
comes.
see what you.
Yes, it's underneath that. Yeah.
So let's say a positive, put in a positive sentence, it would sound like they expect more, they want more.
So how do you know
Something
this?
like, how do I know how do I know that?
Yes.
Well, it's because they tell me. For example, now, we are speaking English here, and that's not my mother tongue, and I'm not, like fluent because I very rarely speak it, but I'm a good communicator in my mother tongue. Most people tell, I have been told this a lot of times. The other day, my son, just because he didn't understand something I told him, he is starting to tell me off and tell me that I'm not able to communicate, I'm not
Oh,
able to say
yeah.
clearly. So it's like he is expecting more and more. And so I think I do so much. And how this is what they want. So positively put, I would say they have like endless expectations. It's never enough.
So when he starts telling you off, telling you that you're not a good communicator, you don't believe this about yourself, but you're
Oh,
getting upset when he believes this about you.
well, the feeling I get when he says this is that he is just making an excuse because he's not satisfied
Yeah.
by me.
And you can see that, but still you get upset.
Yes, it's true. I know it's a shame, but it's like this. So I calm down after a moment when it's passed. Maybe sometimes it even takes a day or two, and then I can see it. But when it happens, there's no way that these strong feelings don't come up. They do come up, and
Mm.
very, very strongly.
Yes. And you get lost in them for a while.
Yes, for a good while sometimes.
Mm. So if I say that what is happening is that he is triggering a belief that you have about yourself,
Yes.
what would that belief
So,
be?
well, you see, Vince, I have tried to stay with what I feel in the body in that moment. And it goes on and on, for hours. And if I stay, I stay, I stay. At some point, this is what happened. This memory, maybe, or image came up of when I was a small child at primary school. And my mom, I was a good student, and my mom would always say, I made this, I think I told this before, but it's always this memory that comes. My mom would say, okay, you made this, I don't know, writing, whatever. It's almost perfect, but you could have done better. This was her She was just, I can recognize she was just stimulating me, and it was her way of loving me. But it was never well done. It was well done, but
Yes.
always,
Yeah.
And I was like the best student in the class, and my mom was never 100% satisfied with me. So
Yes.
I can see that it comes from there. I don't really believe that this is how things should be, but it continues. It keeps happening in
Yep.
me,
Yep.
the same, even after recognizing this.
Yes.
So
So would
what
you?
more can I do?
Well, that's a that's a tricky one. That's a trap down that one. What can you do? Um, so even though you don't believe it is the way it is, because you know how much you try to do good things, there there is no doubt still the belief in you that no matter how hard you try, it won't be good enough. Does that ring
So
true for you?
I don't know. I mean, I believed this for a long time. Um, I, I, I think I don't believe it anymore. You are saying that it must still be active. Is this what you're saying? In
Mm,
spite of the fact
yes.
that I see it. So how how does one disactivate that sort of belief?
Well, you can't choose to change a belief, to drop a belief. You know,
No.
that's going to happen when you discover something. So if we look at what a belief is, right, it's not just any thought, is it? I mean, there are the stories around it, but there are feelings involved with it as well. And so although you intellectually know that it was your mother expressing her own something or other ideals that said, yes, yes, you're almost good enough, but keep trying. We need you to be as the best or better than you are. Right, so that last 1% she wanted you to get, that was her way of saying, keep trying. But you reached a point where you said, maybe, and I'm only guessing this, that you said, no matter how hard I try, I'm never going to please her.
Mm-hmm.
And is it possible that it's that you're responding to with your son when he says what he says to you?
I don't think. I don't think so. I don't think it's. I mean, I'm not able to see it. If it is like you say, well, in this case, I'm not able to recognize it because I have tried to watch this mechanism so many times. I
Yeah.
don't get to the bottom of it. Must be something else that is escaping my observations. I don't know.
Yes, it's something beneath observation. It's that feeling component. I say you see it intellectually and you can analyze it and you can see all of that, but there is still that it's there are still hooks into you at an emotional level, because that's how you respond to him, to your son.
Yes, but then Vince, I have a questions because when this happens lately, since I sort of met you and Pernilla and stuff, I'm spending when these triggers happen, I spend a lot of time trying just to stay with the feeling, detaching all the thoughts,
Okay, yes. So
So
what that does though is that gets you out of your head. That gets you out of a mental cycle or a mental runaway. So that's good in that sense, but that doesn't get you down to the root of this problem, does it? It's the recognizing the belief that you hold. Now, how do you recognize a belief? See, it's not the words, it's not the story that is the belief. It's the feeling, the emotional hooks into this stuff. That really is what we need to look at. What we're not look at. What we need to recognize as something. Recognize as unnecessary or as a problem or as something that's there. But so the trick is it's a difficult one. I'm stumbling over my words here. The recognizing that that's how you were trained, if you like, by your mother. When you were always, even though you were a good student and you did very well, she was never quite satisfied with it, and that ended up giving you some kind of feeling about, and I mean feeling, actual feeling, some emotion about, or maybe hopelessness. Is it, like no matter how hard I try, I can get 99%, but it's not enough for her. It will never be enough. Even if I got 100%, she'll want me to get 101%. Right? There's never any satisfaction there. And here, your son is triggering that kind of stuff in you when he's saying that he doesn't recognize in you what you recognize in you.
yes, but so I'm not very far along the curriculum, but what I understand of what Pernilla is saying is that you detach the belief from the feeling and you stay with the feeling. I mean, especially when you have recognized the story, what the story is, you detach that story or that thought and you stay with the feeling. And, at some point you get to the bottom of that feeling and everything dissolves. What I am saying is that it doesn't dissolve. I have done that so many
Yeah.
times now.
Yes. Yeah.
So what you are saying is that there is a hook between the feeling and the thought, if I understand you well, and that special hook you must see. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of. Yes. That staying with the feeling will it, in most cases, that's really all you require to dissolve the whole thing. But the fact that this keeps coming back suggests that there's something underneath it, and that thing, that whatever we want to call it, that is underneath that is what I would describe as the hooks into this, and
So
that
could you give me
exists.
an example of a hook?
Well, no, I can't. I can't. I can't. because it's not like it's not as if it's not as if they're tangible. They're not in what your son says to you. Those hooks are not in what he says. He just triggers that. What the stickiness, or the hooks, if you like, the stickiness is that you still believe, you are still responding to. I'm if I say it's that sense of hopelessness, it may not be that. It may be, but that's what's kind of an obvious thing, that you can't. No matter how hard you try, you're never going to please mum with this. That's the way she's trained you. Always go for better. No matter how good you are, you got to be better. Right. So then you get to a certain point, and I'm just imagining that you get to a point where you go, well, I give up. I can't. I've been trying my best and I can't do any better, and that's it. I'll give up. Right. And in that there is a sense of hopelessness. And in that hopelessness, there is despair and there is depression, those kind of downer feelings that come from that. And they're not very pleasant. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start having an argument with your son, and you're going to get angry. And that's what will take you away from that feeling of hopelessness. And so the hooks are that whatever it is that you feel, what we just described may not be accurate at all, but there's something there. But whatever it is that you feel is still in you. There is still that sense of, if it is hopelessness, let's say that it is, as an example, that's still there in you. And your son, and no doubt your mother, can also trigger that stuff for you. Probably nobody else can, maybe family, but not other people are going to feel that, are going to trigger that for you. So the stickiness is between you and the belief. Now here's a part of the problem. There's nothing you can do about that. Right? So staying with the sensation, or bashing your head against the wall, all those whatever you want to come up with that you can do to try and fix that, is not going to work. The only thing that can work is for you to realize that there is something in you that needs forgiveness from yourself, from you. It needs acceptance, and then it needs forgiveness. I know this is not very clear. It's quite muddy stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm just trying to feel into what you say, because it has never occurred to me that I need forgiveness, that there is something that needs forgiveness, because it's like I'm somebody who really, somebody. Well,
Yeah.
I really try to do my best.
Well, that's part of the problem.
And so where do I need forgiveness? It's like, I don't want to sound like arrogant, but what is it that needs forgiveness if I'm trying to do my best all the time? So where do I need forgiveness?
Yeah. Yes, you don't need to justify, that's for sure. Yeah.
But
Well,
it
what
really,
is what
I
is
would have to.
forgiveness? If we think about what forgiveness is, what is forgiveness? If you were to forgive, let's just create a story for here. Let's say somebody has done you wrong, and you're going to forgive them. What is the act that? What is the behavior? What is the process that goes on in you when you forgive them? I mean, you could go up to them and you could say, "Oh, I forgive you." Well, that's just bullshit. There's no forgiveness in that. They're just words. So, so what is it? What actually happens if you forgive somebody for doing something wrong for you towards you? What do you do when you forgive them? I mean, really forgive them, not just say the words.
I think what must happen is a recognition of the fact that that person who supposedly has done something wrong would not have been able to do anything different.
Sure. Okay. So what's the process in you when you, with that realization, you would have acceptance, but then you would experience a letting go of something that was previously held on, would you not?
I'm not sure if I understood the question regarding me.
Mm.
Could you say
So
again, maybe with different
if
words?
if you were to forgive somebody, let's say you were to forgive them without ever actually having contact with them, right? So you're forgiving them in your own being. You're
Mm-hmm.
forgiving them for what you perceive to be a wrong once upon a time. Now, you recognize that they couldn't have done it any different. Right, so
Yes.
you're on, the first step is done, right? That they in fact are innocent, and so therefore there's no blame, right? So for one, you let go of blame, you're letting go. So forgiveness is a letting go process, isn't it? And
Yes.
you let go of any blame, you let go of any fault, you let go of any repercussion, you let go of any compensation, you let go of everything when you forgive,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not to say that anything that they did was actually wrong. What's to say is it was perceived as wrong once, and it is now no longer perceived as wrong. And so if we then turn this back in on yourself, if you say not just that my mother thought that I could always do better, you would go, I also thought that I should be trying harder. And that was a perception that didn't relate to reality at all, because I was trying my hardest. So
Yes.
having the perception that I could have tried harder or I should have tried harder, that's something you could forgive yourself for, because you were innocent in that, having that idea about yourself. It wasn't based in reality. It was based on what your mother told you.
Yes.
So what's
This really,
what's
this
something,
really. Mhm.
yeah, what's going on for you now? Something big.
Yes, when you said this, Yes, I understand. All of a sudden I understood what you mean by forgiving myself, because I have tried, and I'm sure I have forgiven her. As far as myself, I have not been able up to now to recognize that there was something I could forgive myself. And
Yes.
now you just made it possible. Thank you. I think this could be the hook that you were talking about. I wasn't able to see it on my own. Thanks
Right.
a lot for this. Thanks a lot.
And only experience will show us if it was accurate, if it fitted, but it fitted something by
Yes.
by your response. It definitely fitted something, whether it's the actual thing that might change things with your son, uh, and your mother, and who knows, what will happen. So yes, we now have to wait for life to offer us an opportunity to see whether or not that was it or not. Yeah.
Okay, I will keep you updated
Thank you.
and see. I will tell you how it goes in the next few weeks.
Great, great. Yes.
Thank you wholeheartedly. This was important for me. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Things still going good for you, Shane?
Pretty tired at the moment.
How about you, Ray? How's things going with you?
Um, I don't really know. I guess I think I'm doing okay. Um, nothing too new to report at the moment. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Right. Very good, good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Are you blue yet, Marius?
I haven't checked, but I got some confirmation email with some information, so I guess I'm through.
Yep. Great.
Yeah. Will I get the diploma in the mail or?
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? Yeah, so now you might look through some of the guiding sessions with different guides, or ask Tyler to be your mentor, but you need to get a mentor for the next step, and ask admin that you tell them you want a guide, and then you'll get access to that Facebook with all of the info about guiding. Yeah. But I've put most of the info out on my website as well, so it's also another place you can access that stuff. But I'm
Okay,
modifying it as I go. But yeah.
I'll check it out.
How's things for you, Helen?
I'm still obsessing about um, the a woman that's come into my life and sort of she's a bully, she's definitely a bully. And I'm trying to turn it around and look at myself. But I've been listening to the meditations you put on about me in the past, me now.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get through the first one because I just cried the whole time. So I just couldn't get through the first one. So I'm on about the third time of listening. And I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. But because I've got such emotional reaction to it, I just can't see my way through it. But when you were speaking just then about forgiveness, I'm not forgiving myself. And it that sort of really struck a chord about forgiveness. What does forgiveness feel like? And I remember forgiving my son, and both our lives sort of changed a little after that when I forgave him and sort of let him go out on his own and be his own man. It was my youngest son who wasn't living life as I saw it could be lived for him, and there was a lot of angst, and I remember forgiving him and saying, for myself, I'm letting you go now because I've brought you up and you're a grown man now, and it's not up to me to dictate your life. And something shifted in me, and something also shifted between us. And he went on then he got a beautiful girlfriend and a place of his own. And so yeah, it was quite not miraculous, but it was a lovely thing to see. So, and forgiveness felt like it was an opening up somehow, and letting love in. It was about love and unconditional love. It was unconditional. I love you no matter what you do. I'm letting you be, and and then so there was a lot. It was mainly love and unconditional love, the feeling. So I'm trying to not replicate it, but trying to hold that sense of not trust, that forgiveness. And so I'm trying to hold that when I go into that meditation now. I think I will do that in terms of forgiveness because I didn't realize that, but I can't forgive myself. I can't, because there's still a lot of shame there, still a lot of probably anger. And I've realized that it is from the past. It is the child that never got recognized, that saw things that were wrong, saw things that I could see things that were wrong with the world, and the only alternative was death. But I took alcohol and sex, promiscuous sex, to, throughout my teenage life. So all that sort of fits in a sense. But I think I do think, and I can feel it now, there's a forgiveness that's missing. And it's still, I can feel it now in my body. I can still feel it, that I'm wrong. And things aren't right, and I'm wrong, and guilt, and yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I get it. Yeah. So it occurs to me that particular meditation that I put up there is not, it's a bit early for you to get into that one. We have to do some work in between here and there. Um,
So that sleeping meditation isn't for me then?
well, I'm just thinking by the reaction that you had to it,
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
it's just a bit too much for you to get there. So it's too big a step. And so always we need to be gentle with ourselves with this stuff.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, it was huge. Yeah. Because I was just like this little wretch in the corner that was dirty and abandoned. Yeah.
yes,
And it was just I couldn't get through it for crying all the time.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So one of the things that somebody said to me regarding this kind of stuff, and I'm just asking you whether or not it's relevant for you or not. I don't know. You know, I have thoughts about it, but where I think maybe anyway, I'll just ask you.
Yeah.
But what they said to me was, you talk about an adult going back to, how can I put it, re-educate the child in us.
Mm.
But they said, but there's no adult here. I'm missing the adult part to go back, to take back, to talk to the child.
Oh, okay.
That what's here is still a child. So a child talking to a child is not gonna do it.
Oh, do you think? So I'm still a child in some way, talking to a child.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Just a thought, just something to cogitate on for a moment. When you were doing that meditation and you got overwhelmed, how far into it was it that happened for you? Had you got back to sitting beside the child before, or did it happen before you even got that far?
Um, I think we're sitting with it, saying, sit, sitting with it.
And just
Oh,
overwhelmed?
child.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that sort of makes some sense. So what denotes what? Oh, so when you say a child can't meet a child, and I get that, totally get that. So what is it that denotes an adult in that relationship and stroke child? Why would it?
Well, it's I don't really know. What they said to me was that they felt like, I don't even remember who told me now, but it doesn't matter. They felt like they didn't they that the adult couldn't bring anything back to the child because there was no adult there. They were still a child in the present, is what they were saying. They didn't feel grown up. They didn't feel adult. They didn't feel they had an adult perspective on things. They still had that child's perspective.
Yes, yeah, that sort of makes a bit of sense because that did crop up. I didn't feel I thought, hold on, what's my adult perspective on this?
Mm.
And some of it came up. Well, I can see that the surroundings around people around me had problems of their own, but that was more of a logical thing rather than a feeling thing.
Mm. Yeah,
You know,
so
and I can
in that seeing that those people have their own problems needs to be a forgiveness for them.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
innocent. They're innocent. They're also brainwashed.
yes, and I now see that logically because I've gone over it. I mean, I don't know much of my parents' past lives, but I know they were very troubled.
Mm.
But to me, they were adults and they didn't have that. But now
Right.
I know that they did. But it's more of a logical thing than a feeling thing.
Yes, yeah, get you.
I,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I know
So,
that's the case, but
so
I probably don't really forgive them.
Right. So what we
I can
need
see
to
it, but
do,
not forgive them.
yes, what we need to do is hook into just how much they are the product of their environment, their upbringing, their everything. And where the forgiveness fits in is the recognition of their innocence in all of that. They had no choice. They could not choose to be different to the way they were. They were just innocent byproducts of their own environment. Right? And you can almost feel, as I say that, in that there is that letting go, that forgiveness of the fact that they were the way they were. It is so sad that they had the effect on you that they did, but they couldn't control it. They were just a byproduct of their own environment. And in that is that feeling of forgiveness.
Yeah, I thought I'd forgiven them, but I don't. No, I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
Mm.
I think that's why I laid before that forgiveness thing. Thought I don't forgive myself, but now I think I'm not forgiving them. I don't think I'm still probably angry
Yep,
at
yep.
what
Cool.
happened and how they behaved. It was about behaviour.
And you can be angry and frustrated and whatever at the fact that it happened, but at the same time see that there is nobody to blame. There is nobody's fault. Nobody had control over anything. It was
Oh,
just
I'm
the
a
way
big
it was.
blamer. Yeah, I'm a big
Yeah.
blamer. Yeah. But I thought I got rid of some of that, but I obviously haven't.
Well,
I'm
you
still
probably
blaming.
have. You probably have. There's just remnants there, still. That's
Oh,
all.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vince, excuse me, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes.
Uh, I just wanted to know where I can find that meditation and if you think it would fit for me.
Yes, I think it would. And it's on the YouTube channel. I'll look. I've done a audio only one, and I'll put the link in the chat now.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Just to let you know, in this very moment, my son is sending me little hearts and
Oh,
little
okay.
signs.
Very good. Yes.
Okay, I will check the chat then.
Yep. I'm just copying it now,
Mhm.
and
Thank you.
it's there. You go. It's there now. Now I'm what what you triggered for me, Helen, was that I want to do another one now for you. I want to do a different meditation for you, but I need time to think about it and to do it. Um, some kind of an intermediary thing. It will become relevant for sure, and as soon as you can get to it without breaking down too much, then it'll be the right time for you. But yes, something.
Yes.
Leave it with me and let me just think about this and see if I can come up with another one that will be more relevant for you at the moment on the way to that one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. But I think I'll think around forgiveness. I will do some writing because I hate writing and I
Yeah,
don't write, but I will write around forgiveness because it feels very pertinent somehow at the minute. I
absolutely.
thought it were done with, but it's not.
Yeah,
not done with.
play with the word and play with what it means and play with what it
Yes,
feels like, and
yes,
yeah, and that will in fact be the work.
yes, very much so. Yeah, because I prayed last night. Please, and there's a block here. There's something not. It's not feeling right. Things aren't. What
Yeah,
please send me something that I can move with. And
yeah.
yeah, and
Well,
here
here
it
you
is.
are. He delivered, so we're there. Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. So thank you again. Thank you.
No worries, no worries at all. Yeah, and you feel free to email me at any time about anything as well. No worries. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Mm.
How are you going, Bianca?
Mm. Um, I think I just identified a belief I have, and it was about forgiving, about how my father was. I think that I understood it even as a child, that it is not his fault. He was it was how he was brought up, and it's his history. It is
Yep.
And I like somehow I didn't expect him to be a good father. But the belief is that if you are not good at something, you shouldn't do that. Like if I'm not a good singer, then I shouldn't sing.
So if you have a child and discover you're not a good parent, you can't kind of backtrack on that, can you?
Yeah, it was like he shouldn't. He should have knew before
Mm, mm.
and not sire children.
But of course, he can't know until he tries, and then it's too late.
Mm,
You think maybe he should have known before that he wasn't going to be good? Or another way to look at it is to say, well, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but it doesn't really help us. Do you think he knew he was going to be a shit parent before he became a parent?
I don't know. I don't know. Did he want to have children or not? I know my mother did want it.
Mm. So,
Maybe he just wanted to have sex. So
and that was just, you were just the result of that. Yeah. Okay. Um, so it's interesting that even as a child, you recognised that it wasn't his fault the way he was. at some time after that, I presume after that, there came that, how can I put it? Is it too strong to say disgust or disdain about his parenting ability? Or about his personality, even really, his personality, about the strength of his personality was what that feeling was about, wasn't it?
Yes, I think disgust is not about parenting. So more general.
Mm. So do you remember, did that come after, as a child, recognizing that it wasn't anything that he could control?
Hard to tell. It's
Mm.
I can't pinpoint this moment when I realize that it's not his fault. It's very
Yeah,
fuzzy.
yeah, sure. Yeah. But it's not just about the way he was that these feelings are, is it? Is it also that this is what he's passed on to you somehow? Those feelings?
Oh, yes.
Mm.
This I have become my father, and I can't forgive myself for it.
You can or you can't.
I can't.
You can't forgive yourself. Mm. Because you believe that you have a choice, that you could be different. Why is it that you can't forgive yourself? I mean, you're just like him. You're just a product of your environment, aren't you? So there's no fault or blame in that, is there?
Well, I think it is this belief that if you are not good at something, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like there is a choice in it.
Yeah. Could you choose not to do it? He couldn't choose not to be a parent, could he? Regardless of how good he was at it. I mean, maybe there was a choice. Maybe he could have left you and not been a parent. But really, there's not really a choice, is there?
Mm.
So you said that you could forgive him
Mm-hmm.
for being that way as a child. As an adult, can you forgive him for being that way?
And now it's all in the past.
Mm.
Well, what is there to forgive now?
Okay, that kind of took the wind out of my sails. The next thing I was going to ask you was what's the difference in forgiving him than in forgiving yourself? Is there a difference?
Mm.
You can no more help the way you have been conditioned than he could help the way he was. Is that true?
I think for me now it's more like it is happening. There are things that I am not good at, but I have to do it to survive.
Mm. So that does something to what you said before about if you're not good at something, you shouldn't do it. So here you are not good at something, you
Yes,
have to do it.
it's like with like you said, he had no choice but to be a parent when I was born.
Mm.
Uh, and I also had no choice but to do my work, or more generally to live,
Yeah, yeah.
even though I'm not good at living.
Mm. Well, you've succeeded so far, but when you say not good,
I survived,
yes,
but
survived. Yeah, yeah,
but not the same as succeed.
yes, yeah. And you had no choice about that either, did you? You just did what has to be done. Yeah. So, unlike Scott saying he's seeing things to be the way they should be, you can't go along with that for yourself. You can't see that. You still think that things should be different to the way they are. The things that you're not good at, you should be good at.
No, I should not do them.
Ah, okay. Right. Whoa, yeah. So practice makes perfect doesn't apply. So doing them, it doesn't mean that you're going to get better at them. You should just keep them on
It
top.
doesn't work like that in all cases.
Yeah, yeah.
If I have bad hearing, I'm not gonna be a good singer.
Mm, mm. So for these kind of things we're talking about, there's no possibility of change. Is that what you're saying? The things that
Yes,
you're not good at, you're always going to be not good at them. The things that your father's not good at, he's always going to be not good at it.
sometimes things are broken beyond repair.
Mm. And in this case, that applies.
But it's the feeling.
Mm. Is there any room in that feeling to say it could be wrong, the feeling, or is it a definite?
Mm. No, it can be wrong.
Mm. Right. Okay. So if you say, and it's a fantasy, if you say, oh, once I believed things should be different, but now I see that they had to be the way they were because of circumstances. Is that a case for forgiveness, for forgiving yourself for once believing that they could be different?
Yeah, I guess if this belief would change.
Yes, yes. So it does. It's contingent on the belief changing, isn't it? There's nothing to forgive until the belief changes, and then we forgive ourselves for holding an inaccurate or inappropriate belief for before. So where does forgiveness of yourself fit in for you?
Well, right now it is not possible
Mm-hmm.
for me to forgive myself. Well, what else?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nothing to do here.
Did you say nothing to forgive?
Nothing to do here.
Yes, yes. Right. Can you imagine that nothing to do here is so right? It's even more right than you imagine, in that I guess you're saying that there's there's nothing to do here because there's no chance of it being different. But can you imagine that things can be different without doing anything? Is it possible that somewhere that things can change because of external circumstances or because of a different perspective on things without any effort?
Yes, they can.
Without doing anything. Yes, great, great, great. So we can relax and then we can just be observant about what might change. It's hard to appreciate just how powerful and how strong, even a so seemingly casual conversation like this can shift things around just because seeds get planted and they germinate or whatever. Yeah. Always
Oh
open.
no,
Yeah, go on.
no, I've remembered in my Buddhist Sangha, I really dislike the founder of this movement, which is funny. Mm, I like the movement, but I dislike the founder very much. And I think he had made some bad choices in how he conducted himself. But recently I talked with a friend, and I came to the conclusion that well, he just chose the lesser evil in this certain situation, and it's what we all do all the time. We're just choosing the lesser evil because there is nothing better to choose.
Yeah. Of course, that's a no-win situation, isn't it? It's
Yes, it was just that my view of this founder got a bit gentler.
what brought
So
that about.
something is happening with this non-forgiveness.
Okay.
Because I can see how this belief that if you are not good at something, you shouldn't do it. How judgmental I am about who. Yes, whole humanity is.
Yeah. So do you see that do you see it almost as a mechanical, not quite the right word, objective, that it's just a fact that something has changed and you feel differently about that, slightly differently about that? Or do you, is that not quite so cut and dried about what's changed, but rather that it's that there's a shifting attitude maybe that's softened a little bit somehow for some reason that we don't quite see? And can you apply that to
Yes.
yourself?
Um,
Can you give yourself that softening?
oh, it's I really I see it more like forces moving within me, or like some energies, and it's not like I can move them.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well, that's probably a better way to see it, actually. Yeah, because it's much closer to what's actually happening, isn't it? We just there is this, and we don't know what's behind it or what's going on with it. But yeah, it just is. Yeah.
Well, maybe the best I can do is, if I'm aware of this belief that exists, well, to mitigate it, I mean, to not act on it.
Yep.
As best as I can.
Mm. Well, again, it comes back to that control and choice thing. But yeah, I get what you're saying, that it really is a case of watch and see, isn't it? And just acknowledging that something is happening is a big thing.
Listening to these last few talks, I'm just inspired to share something that was very important for me, and that is to love life as it is, even the what is perceived as difficult. For me, there was a tendency to kind of analyze and figure things out, and which kept me in mental activity instead of just seeing it as a big part of life. Life isn't only what's good, but it's also what's bad, and or perceived as bad. And suddenly the bad becomes good. And that perspective didn't come easy, but I tried to remind myself of that every time I had a difficult situation come up, that I had this judgment of difficult things as wrong. This is not right. It shouldn't be like this. Why am I feeling like this? How can I understand it to never feel this again? All of that just kept me in mind activity. Instead of just staying here now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So how did it happen for you? How did it come about that this attitude become predominant? What I mean, you didn't choose. I mean, it might appear like you chose, but you didn't choose to stop being analytical and start being accepting. But yet that's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If I to be honest, I don't really know. I don't think anyone can really know, but what seems to happen, or what seemed to happen, is just recognizing the judgment and recognizing what that judgment does.
Yeah.
And it actually keeps perpetuating thought.
Mm.
And seeing that enough times, I guess the perspective just suddenly changed.
Yeah, I wonder if it was that you saw as a result of experiencing that, after a couple of times of that experience, that it just became the obvious way to be.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, the complexity and subtlety and the whole thing is just so. I mean, it's really interesting the way those kind of thing works. It's just obviously there's stories on stories on stories, all hooked up with sensations and so on, and then something emerges out of it, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
And also, I think just coming to the point to see that believing thoughts is
Insanity.
yeah, basically.
Mm.
I was lucky enough to have Tyler as my guide, and he was very good at just pointing me back at here now.
Yeah, he does that well.
Whatever I threw at him, it was just, yeah, but that's not here. It's, I think just getting back to here is very helpful. It was here, at least.
I
Yeah,
see
but
that
it's not
I
like
don't know
yeah, go.
how do you do that? That you see that a belief is insane, and then you stop doing it. How? Just for me, seeing that it is an insane belief, it doesn't change anything. The belief just go on.
Mm.
So I'm imagining, and certainly jump in and correct me if it's not accurate, but see, I'm imagining that it wasn't the seeing that brought about the change for Marius. The seeing was involved, but it was the experiencing of it being okay when he didn't do
Mm.
that stuff. So it was the experience that brought about the change, not the idea that, not even the seeing, the consequence of the seeing.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Okay, yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's got to be a positive, not a negative, or it's got to be not the absence of something, but the existence of something that we respond to. We don't respond to the absence of something. So when there's an absence of mistrust, what exists is nothing. We don't find suddenly that we've got this thing called trust. That's just a way of describing the absence of mistrust. And so it's the same thing with whatever Marius saw, allowed an experience to happen, or promoted an experience, or whatever. I don't know how it comes about, but an experience happened that became attractive.
This is so-called grace, I think, or whatever we mean when we say there's nothing we can do to bring this on. It will just come at the right moment, I guess, under the right circumstances.
Mm. And the existence of it, which is crazy because it's not a thing, is it? But the existence of that state becomes a magnet that brings us back to that again and again.
Yeah, that was beautifully
Can I
said.
ask you, Marius, when you're talking about that sort of subtle grace of that knowing, when it happened for you, I imagine from what you were talking about earlier, it's recent enough. Was it a big deal for you, or was it no big deal?
No, it wasn't a big deal. It was very gradual for me. It was more of a realizing that there had been a subtle shift that I wasn't really aware of, but suddenly became aware of. So
And that's the grace piece?
yeah. So it's like there had been a change already, I think, but without me recognizing it. And then suddenly I recognized it. And like Vince is saying, it's kind of like a magnet. So if I get pulled out or into something, I already know that I know about that place and I get back there sort of automatically. And I've listened to quite a few of these talks and listened to a lot of what you've shared, Dennis, and I think like I really have resonated with a lot of the stuff that you have talked about, and I feel like you are totally awake, but
I love it.
but you're believing the belief that you're not. That's
I
it.
think, and it was a contrast between what Bianca was saying and what you were saying. It was like, why even talk about it? You're in a different place, and it's trying to describe another. It's just, it feels like a waste of time. And I was finding myself getting frustrated. But that's been my theme lately. Just a lot of anger and frustration. Helen tapped into it earlier when she was talking. So I can only conclude that it's the way it's meant to be for now, and that anger and frustration will just continue to bubble away. I can go into thinking about it and, get angry with everyone and everything if I want, but I don't have to. The other option is just to be here in the moment and let it percolate as energy. But it's quite sticky. It wants to express. So
But
you're
would
talking
that
about
be
being
wrong?
awake. Well, it could be, it could be. I suppose it could hurt other people, and there's hurt in it.
Mm.
And when Vince said earlier, well, maybe the adult can't go back for the child and integrate because it's the child. I was like, well, if that's the case, we're royally fucked. What's the solution to that one? So just a lot of frustration. Sorry, Marius, you said something and I was talking. What did you say?
I don't
What would
know. I
that
don't
feel
remember.
like?
No, yeah, I'm just wondering if that was wrong. That you,
Yeah.
yeah, because whatever is whatever it is. So you're not even there yet. So there's that anger or that expressed anger that you are thinking about hasn't even happened yet. And if that happens, that is what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So that, how can that be wrong?
Yeah, it's the mind again co-opting the moment.
Yeah, does that sometimes.
So, Dennis, if I asked you, has anything in your the God, these days I have trouble finding words all the time. The basically what I want to say is, have you noticed anything different in the way you are these days to the way you were, say, a year ago? General overall thing, any noticeable shift in how you respond to things?
I feel like the first thing I want to say is I feel like I'm a lot worse.
Right, so there's more anxiety than there used to be, or more
No, not anxiety. Well, there's definitely more anger and frustration, confusion, the feeling of life isn't in my control, as it might have been in the past, or that idea, belief that you had control,
Mm.
helpless. Um, just a lot of frustration.
In a sense, you are helpless. Can you accept that?
Maybe not fully.
Mm.
Whether it's a belief or a knowing that that's not true.
What's underneath that?
It feels like a fierce fire for life and for living.
Do you know intellectually that you haven't had any control up until now? Like the life you have lived? Do you see the mechanics of that?
I feel like I've seen some of it, but not fully. Um, it's not necessarily realized.
What does that mean?
Like one simplistic way of putting it is maybe there's 90% that I don't control, but not fully 100%.
Can you find anything that you have control over just today?
Well, as an example, it could be whether I choose to express what I'm feeling or want to say or not, or curate it in a certain way for the group. So that feels more like there's a level of control as opposed to how my blood flows or the trees bend and my metabolism operates.
It's easy to look back and imagine that you could have said those words differently, but it's obvious that that's a thought.
Yeah,
Can you see that the way those words came out, that they came out that way because of everything around them, everything that they were dependent on was the way it was, and so they had to come out that way. There was no option but for them to come out that way because they did come out that way. That it's only a thought that says, oh, I could have used different words to say that. Is that something you can see?
yeah, I can see what you're pointing at. Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't on the call, the words wouldn't come out. That everything together creates the environment for everything else in the moment. Yeah.
Mm. And it's obvious using logic that looking back is that what was required for those words to be exactly the way they were was what was present. Otherwise, different words would have happened. So it's a bit of a circular thing. The words came out because all of the conditions for those words was present, and the conditions of those words were present because of the fact that those words came out. And it's kind of a weird. I don't think lawyers would get off on that one because it's a self-sustaining kind of thing. It's a circular.
And even the thoughts that came up in that moment that helped you express the way you did wasn't thoughts that you went back and chose anywhere. They just came from nothing.
Yeah, but it feels like they're being guided and shaped and allowed by something else.
Do you mean literally feels like that? So if that's the case, where's that feeling? What does it feel like? Or when you say it feels like, well, you're actually meaning you think that's the case, or something other, you know?
Yeah, it's not a feeling or a thinking. It's more of a noticing.
Mm.
But isn't that also a thought?
Okay, language. If it feels like presence can either suppress something you might say or allow it.
You mean there's something that can choose to express or not express the thought that comes up? Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's getting closer to it, yeah.
Mm. Can
So,
you see that choice is a thought as well? It's an afterthought? There's an afterthought that told you that you chose what to express and what you didn't express.
Maybe, Marius, maybe. If it is, it feels like we're into a very subtle layer of thought that actually doesn't appear as thought. It's nearly silent, but it's not.
Let me put it in a different way. There is thought, there is expressing, and then there is an afterthought of you choosing to express or not express.
Yeah, no, that's obvious, and I think Vince just pointed to that a minute ago. The afterthought thing is clear, but this feels like it's prior.
So there's a prior thought that says, I'm going to express these thoughts in a way, probably not in those words, but there are thoughts, and then there is an intention, which is also a thought, that I should say this or not say this.
I feel like my mind is trying to get a look at itself, and I can't. It's just. It feels like something is resisting the thoughts or the expression of the thoughts, and that mechanism is kind of painful or uncomfortable, and there's a sort of relief and release in expressing whatever it is we talk about.
So in the process that I just laid out, there is also a sensation, an uncomfortable sensation that can stop you from expressing somehow, that contracts. Is that correct?
Yeah, and there may be subtle thoughts connected with it that are commenting on the previous thought that wasn't expressed. Like, oh, don't say that, or
But those thoughts are also seen, right? And you agreed that you are not in control of your thoughts, which means we're back to helplessness.
it's they're not always seen, so that's an issue.
But where is the belief in control in what we're talking about now.
I'm not sure right now, but there's a sense that it's connected to the frustration and maybe the anger.
Mm. There is a story that comes up here, a fantasy, as Vince like to say, and just if it resonates or not, just tell me. But could that frustration or anger come from a sense of lack of progress?
That, that's a good one, Marius. Yeah, that's definitely part of it, if not a good chunk of it.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's familiar.
So what about regress? We not only have no progress, but we have regress. Here you are worse off than what you were before you started this thing with
Yeah,
what you said, yeah.
yeah.
But you're still here. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm not sure. As in, I'm still here at the meetings as opposed to here on the planet. I'm assuming you mean at the meetings.
Yeah.
I suppose like the best I could put it is something knows to come here, but really, if I was to listen to my mind, I probably wouldn't, or my thoughts.
Oh, so is that different to 12 months ago? Did you listen to your mind more then than now?
Well, maybe the commentary was more in line with, oh, let's do this, let's, try this, let's read that, let's meditate this way. And now it's flipped. It's like, this is all bullshit. What are you wasting your time with this absolute shite for?
Mm.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
So back then there was more hope than there is now.
Yeah, you could, that's one way of looking at it.
The Dennis that I've watched in videos would say you're in a good place.
You're playing that role now, Marius. I'm someone else at the minute.
But the hopelessness, I think there's more juice there, because that's a big, that was a big issue here in keeping this in the head, not kind of surrendering to life, thinking I am in control, thinking I can do.
And do you mean the resistance to accepting that hopelessness, Marius?
Yes.
I've noticed it externally. When I say externally, kind of how I am in the world, like, and it's funny, it can even link into as you get a little bit older, and people talk about getting to a mountain and then going down the other side and everything that goes with that. But where your career is going or might have gone, as opposed to what you thought, where your life, the ideas you had for yourself and the future, and that's all feels like that's all being rubbed out, eroded.
Mm.
So there's a sense of loss.
Well, you need to lose your old identity, right?
Yeah, it feels like, and I don't know, I'm not clear about why I'm saying this, but it feels like an ego, a self, couldn't survive in complete helplessness. It would be like a vacuum for it. It's just,
There's nothing to hold on to.
and I don't even know if I can imagine helplessness because
It is a really tricky one to imagine. How can you imagine? So if I say this, I know I have no control, but I don't feel helpless. Now they could be seen as contradictory, but they're not. So how do those things live side by side?
That's the point I was actually trying to make earlier in pointing out that the helplessness when you clearly see that you're not in control and give yourself to that, and then look back at your life and see that you're all right. You can let go and trust that life will take care of you.
So it is just there is trust in these mechanisms. Yeah. Oh yes, but I'm saying about this belief that there is, and I can forgive myself, and so on and so on. And life is a pile of shit. I don't love it at all. But somehow, I also recently I have a feeling, and I would describe it, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's a thought.
It's just a feeling.
Yeah, because is there any proof? Do you have any proof that it hasn't gone right? Is there anything in your experience that can prove to you that up until now something has gone wrong? I don't mean, of course, something we want or don't want, but
I don't know if this speaks to what you're saying, Marius, but I had a really strange experience during the week in an ordinary sort of day-to-day thing. I was in work remotely. It was one of those work from home days, and I was at a meeting that I had to chair. There was people from different parts of Europe coming into it, and the whole meeting was quite stressful because I was trying to bring people together to talk about stuff that I didn't know a lot about, but I knew I needed to bring them together to try and get them to work together. And it was so stressful for a reason I can't understand. And I was so close to just ending the meeting and walking away from the machine, the PC. I've never had that experience before where I just wanted to click off the machine and go, I can't do this. There was such a tension of, I don't know what it was, and it took everything in me. Just felt like not to just switch off the screen and leave the meeting, and maybe that could have been the beginning of leaving the job. I don't know. Um, but then afterwards, I got feedback from two different people about how well the meeting went and how, thanks for sharing and all this positive stuff. And I'm like, that's just completely at odds to how I was experiencing those moments. What
So what did that
Yeah,
tell you?
that's beautiful.
does it tell me? I'm completely disconnected from reality.
Oh,
Glad
chuck
I'm
on
glad
that
you two
one.
find that funny.
Yeah. What's this thing you call reality?
Mm.
Yeah, it's back to though. Yeah, everyone has their own reality, and it's just mine is broken, So that's why we go back and we try to find our child, and we do all this work because we believe six thoughts, and off we go again.
Yeah. Well, presumably two independent people told you that how well the meeting went. That's their reality.
Hmm.
And your reality was different. Does is can can we get into some hypothetical place where we say one reality is more legitimate than the other reality? Or is it obvious that the word reality is not appropriate here, but to say that your reality and their reality was different can also say that there are different realities involved. It's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just that there were two different realities. Or, yeah, well, the word reality probably better replaced with perceptions. Their perception and your perception was different. And it doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong. What it means is there's two different ones. Full stop. Well, for one, I'm glad you come to these meetings. I'm glad that whatever it is that brings you to these meetings exists. Okay, well, it's midnight here, so if anybody else has got something they want to bring up, let's go. Otherwise, we'll wind up. Because I've been starting an hour later so that it's the same time for everybody in the world except somebody in this time zone. It's actually put it a bit later. So I thought was to ask you about starting an hour earlier, but let's not do anything about it just yet because I think it's only a matter of a week or so before a large part of the world goes into or out of summertime time zones into standard time zones. So that'll change things as well. So let's leave it till then, but maybe we'll put it back an hour earlier in future. But anyway, that's just a thought. We'll discuss further. Yeah.
Tomorrow
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, Saturday night we go back an hour.
This Saturday, is it that soon?
Tonight.
Tomorrow.
Good night.
Oh, tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's always a mind boggle, this time zone thing. So would you say you want it at the same time of the day, or would you want it at the same time on the clock? What would be your first inclination? So if you go back an hour, that means you'll be doing it an hour later on the clock. Is that right? I go,
Earlier.
yeah. Do you want to do that, or do you want to keep it at the same time on the clock, which means I'll put it an hour earlier.
Put it an hour earlier would be my sense.
Yep, I'm getting a couple
Yeah.
of. Yeah. All right, I'll do that. So next week, Saturday will be an hour earlier, and I'll let everybody know that. And that gives us a bit more time now as well, so I won't be rushing off quite as soon. And I've got a FENA meeting at 6:30 in the morning, so if I leave it too late, I don't get enough sleep. Not that that's a big issue, but yeah. All right. Okay, well, let's wind up for tonight then. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.